It's behind these anonymous facades in downtown Washington, D.C. that an international battle for influence over U.S. foreign policy is waged. These lobbying firms are spread throughout the city and are estimated to make $500 million a year from governments abroad. Many represent not just Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but also Qatar at the same time. Of the Gulf Cooperation Council nations, the UAE spends the most lobbying Washington. In fact, according to the most recent collated figures available, it spends the most of any country in the world. Qatar traditionally spends considerably less.
You have a military base on your soil. They may at least feel like they don't have to lobby as much as, say, Saudi Arabia or the UAE.
That's changed. On Friday, it was disclosed Qatar has retained the lobbying firm of former Attorney General John Ashcroft for $2.5 million. Over 90 days, the Ashcroft law firm says it will use its roster of former Treasury, Homeland Security and intelligence community members to make Qatar's case. It's difficult to quantify how effective these nations' DC lobbying is. But in the past, the narrative of being anchors of regional stability against Iran, their need for the latest in weaponry, and the need to ignore their lack of democracy has been very successful in the US. At a time of crisis, these countries hope their lobbying firms can get their message directly to those making decisions.
It's the connections. If you're a lobbyist, you might be a former member of Congress, former senator, former high-ranking administration official. You might have been on Donald Trump's campaign. And so in one phone call, you can get the right information to the right person, whereas all of the thousands of people who work at the State Department or the Pentagon, they don't have the right phone numbers to call.
Money can buy more subtle means of foreign influence in Washington, D.C. as well. This is D.C.'s Massachusetts Avenue. Some refer to it as Arab-occupied territory. Such is the fortune that Gulf nations have poured into the policy think tanks that line either side. And Qatar was a pioneer, giving the Brookings Institution some $15 million in 2011. Its Gulf rivals soon followed. The UAE helped build the new headquarters for the Center for Strategic and International Studies nearby, and the UAE and the Saudis supplied $2.5 million for a brand new think tank, the Arab Gulf Institute, located here. Again, it's difficult to quantify how such donations affect the pronouncements of these think tanks' analysts, but at the very least, they give their sponsors a chance to make their voices heard at policy roundtables with senior US officials and encourage analysts to specialize on their areas of interest. As the crisis within the GCC continues, the nations in dispute will be expecting a return on their investments. Shibab, Rattansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.